everybody, welcome back to Hanging with the Hoopers.
Yes.
Andrew and Tim Hooper, your hosts.
Boom.
Where we believe attitude of leadership is everything.
It's the only thing, man.
That's right. I love it, man. We that's our ongoing debate here on the show. Is it the only thing or everything? I think it means the same thing.
Boom.
But it really is. So excited to dive into some topics today, but we've been having a really fun conversation about what makes people leave a company. What makes people leave you when fill in the blank. So we're going to talk about that today and hopefully give you some ideas of how to zoom in and retain people a little better.
Our people leave when is about identifying blind spots.
Right.
We're not going to go negative in this podcast, although we are going to share some stories. You have a good one. You've got a doozy for us. I think what this does is it helps us, maybe as a leader who think we're doing a good job, to maybe uncover some blind spots. Hopefully uncover some blind spots and say, ooh, maybe I can improve that. So, Hoop, take it away.
Well, I go back to people leave you when, and we want to draw from some of our experiences and, my experience as an employee when I left a company that I never thought that I was going to leave. And that was the wagon, Wells Fargo, back in the day. That's where I started my banking career, right? In Iowa.
Yep, go Hawkeyes.
After about 40, that's right, go Hawkeyes. College season's about to start. Sorry for all you Penn State fans or Maryland fans here.
Sorry, don't throw rocks at
Yeah, don't throw rocks. But I moved, I moved after about 4.5 years out to California with Wells Fargo to the Bay Area. And I was running a pretty large branch as the branch manager at the time. And, you always get recruited in banking world, in a lot of industries. You have recruiters reaching out on LinkedIn, et cetera. But this particular...
Wait, only in the banking world?
No, everywhere. Always, right? As you know. So it happens all the time. And normally you just ignore it. But this time, a good friend of mine, Brian, who ended up becoming my boss at JPMorgan Chase, he reached out. He was the market director in the region there. And he was like, hey, let's grab lunch. Let's grab coffee. I've heard some things about you. And I'm like, uh-oh.
Way to go, Brian.
I know. Brian with an lunch. I, right? Not a Y. So I interacted. I said, listen, I'm really happy with where I'm at, but I'm willing to grab lunch with you. So we went to lunch, and I liked him. I met the other counterpart to him in the region, and we had a good connection. Well, the next week I went on vacation. I had a 2-week vacation planned, and I had no intention of leaving Wells Fargo. None at all. Things were going well. I'd been at this branch for about 5 months, building a strong team, building some great relationships, and it was interesting. I get back from vacation, and the day after I get back from vacation, the new regional director that's had some higher management change was coming in to do a branch visit. And if any of you are current with your kind of history, you know that Wells Fargo was in the news. Tim, you remember, right? They were in the news for some things that weren't great, and I had lived through some of that as an employee, some of the sales pressure and the things that were less than great for that company. And at the end of the day, they were coming in, and there were still some of those practices in place, and they had this report they called the Daily Solutions Report that you're supposed to look at as a branch manager and then coach your team on, they're not meeting their daily solutions numbers, which is essentially a sale. You sell a credit card, a checking account, a savings account, yada, yada.
Right, quota. Yep.
So I knew this report was there. Obviously, I used it to check and gauge the trends of my team. And, so lo and behold, branch visits happening, day back from vacation. I'm still getting my bearings, getting out of email jail. They walk in, kind of beeline right over to my desk, which I never liked anyway. If you're a senior leader and you're walking into one of your locations, go say hi to everybody. Take your time, interact with the entire team. Don't just bug over to the manager's desk. That's a whole other conversation. So they sit down, right? And my boss at the time kind of sat behind the new divisional president who was there with me. Kind of adjacent, but behind her, right? And she asked, first thing out of her mouth, a couple of niceties, and the first thing she asked me was, hey, can I see your daily solutions report? Well, unbeknownst to me at the time, but while I was out on vacation, they had rolled out this new initiative. They wanted the branch managers printing the report every day. Not just looking at it, they wanted it printed. I didn't know this. I had just gotten back. I hadn't made it that deep into my email yet. So he was giving me these really furtive glances and hand signals kind of behind her back, because he was kind of behind her. He's shaking his head tell her yes, right?
Control.
Right. So I was confused. I was very confused. And I said, I don't have it printed. I didn't print it today, but I have it up here on my screen. I turned my screen. It was pulled up. My entire team was there, probably, I don't know, 15 or 16 bankers there listed. And her response was, you were supposed to have this printed. You're obviously not ready for our visit, so we'll just come back when you're ready.
Wow.
And they got up and walked out of the branch.
Wow.
And, that was a cringe moment. I was not a slouch of a leader. I was fairly respected amongst my peers. Of course, if you have those reputation. Hopefully, you're aware of what your reputation is. It wasn't running one of their largest branches. This wasn't a just nothing happening situation, right? They didn't know I was getting recruited by Chase, but that was a sign to me at the time that it was time to go.
Right.
And a week and a half later, I put in my 2-week notice. Had an offer pending from Chase that I was going to decline. Yeah. And that's when I ended up moving over.
It looked a lot more attractive.
It was crazy, right? It looked a lot more attractive because of the actions of leadership that were less than human. So that's a very long story. I normally don't tell a lot of stories about myself, but I know we've been asked to tell more stories that apply, and it really does apply. Right? So some of those little things we do as leaders, you have to always be aware that if you're not treating your people right, and to me that wasn't just humiliating. It just wasn't the right thing to do. It wasn't the right. I would never treat an employee that way. I would help them along. So it was just the writing on the wall. So I'd love your thoughts on my long-winded story.
Well, let's marinate in that just for a little bit, because I think there's a right way and a wrong way. So first off, they rolled out a new process. And didn't train or give time for this to actually be implemented. They just, somebody, again, probably upper management, needed to look good, needed a checkbox, needed something, or simply throwing their weight around is what it sounded like in this instance. And I remember that phase in your life. I remember you talking to me about this opportunity and moving out to the West Coast and, taking on this new market for Chase. And really, I'm glad you took that step, because it really puts you into a posture of, and around the right people like the Bryans of the world to just grow and go to the next level, which you did. So it was a blessing in disguise. And
Brian, if you're watching this, I still owe you a drink. You've had this ongoing promise.
So your thank you wells, right? But here's the thing. I know knock on wells. I know some great wells people. Ryan, if you're listening right now. All right. So let me contrast that, though. I got an email in my inbox this morning from InfoSec. And by the way, just a quick commercial. If you're not focusing on InfoSec, call me in your company.
Information security, layman's terms.
Yes, information security. Call me or Andrew. We need to have a conversation. It is imperative, especially with the hacking environment that we're living in today. So
we'll point you in the right direction.
That soundbite is over. However, email from InfoSec this morning saying, hey, we're implementing this new process. We want to identify who has access to what on a monthly basis. We're going to send out this Excel spreadsheet, a report. We need your input per employee in your division, blah, blah, blah. I get down to the bottom of the email. It's a very well-written email. It says, we understand this is a new process. There will be mistakes made the first couple of go-arounds. We'll work with you on this. Listen, as a leader, if you're going to change a process, okay, and I know we're just kind of going to marinate in the story, but unpack a little bit deeper here.
Absolutely.
If you're going to change a process or require something new of somebody, make sure that you have taken the time to give the proper training, give the proper time for this to stick.
Yeah.
I mean, we want habits to be formed overnight for others, and we have that. We know we can even do that ourselves.
Yeah.
So, Andrew, I love the story. I remember it. Again, thank you, Wells. But
yeah, for the story,
for moving you to the next level. Right. But guys, here's the thing: people are knocking on your people's door. You can't turn a blind eye to that, especially your top producer's door. Okay, let's stay there. People are knocking on your recruiters are knocking on your top producer's door. Don't make job offers look more attractive than they need to be.
Yeah.
I just?
Of course.
Drop that right there?
Absolutely. Wow. I mean, it happens. This is real life that all of us running businesses and aspects of businesses, we deal with it every single day.
So your people leave when? Fill in some blanks. Just give us some bullet point blanks here. Your people leave when, Andrew? Shout them out. I know you're getting invigorated.
Put me in a box here. I'm going to have to figure this out.
Your people leave when?
Your people leave when you are out of touch with who they are as a person, when you do not respect them, when you have these instances arise where maybe you, out of a wrong emotion, go after them about something, or before you went after them about something, you did not make sure that you understood what they may be going through, or you didn't give them the benefit of the doubt that they may have made that mistake. Listen, people, we just had this whole, don't say listen, sorry. People have
awareness.
I know, right? People have, it's the straw that breaks the camel's back. So as a leader, you are supposed to be, in my opinion, the person with the greater bandwidth to handle the drama. You feel what I'm saying? So, you like that? So at the end of the day, you're shaking your head. I love it.
I love it, yeah.
But you're supposed to be able to handle the drama of your people, right? So as it goes, something happens. Instead of you being the one to snap and have that be the straw that breaks your back as a leader, your people leave when that happens, you should be able to have the bandwidth to take a step back.
Yeah.
Not get into your own emotions there a little bit, because that's your responsibility to do so as a leader.
Yeah.
Your people, I always gave a little more latitude. Not past a certain line. There's a line where things can get unprofessional, and that needs to be dealt with. But if someone needs to vent, or they do need to have that moment, like, don't hold it against them. Yeah. And it kind of leads, people leave when they're not allowed to learn from their mistakes. People leave when they make a mistake, and you hold it over their head without ever talking to them about it. This happens so much. Things happen. Aggressively. The leader's not confident enough to have that conversation with the person, because they're just not trained or have not practiced how to have a crucial conversation.
Right. Which we talked about that back in Sandwiches episode.
Sandwiches, open face.
face.
So at the end of the day, are we making sure that people have room to make some mistakes, learn from them, and we have their back through that process? Even if, listen, any feedback that's given with a good heart is better than no feedback, even if you butcher it a little bit.
Any feedback given with a good heart is better than no feedback. That's a great soundbite, Andrew. Not only a soundbite, a quotable. You guys can tweet that out, send that out.
Hopefully a practice.
Put big hoop on it.
Hopefully a practice.
Hopefully a practice. But you said your people leave when and went through some things. I love that. I also think that it would be a great exercise to pull your leaders, your frontline managers in to a meeting and say, right on the whiteboard, okay, our people stay when, okay, and then just brainstorm around the room, right?
That dog will hunt.
Our people stay when, okay, and just really think, because listen, we're all about talent attraction and retention and finding the right people, the hunters and the killer rock stars. Listen, if you're the right person, if you have the right DNA, your company has a good culture, you're going to attract those people. I see those people spin off a lot of times because we don't know how to feed them. We don't know how to keep that challenge in front of that pursuit in front of them. Or we bring them in and we find out they're smarter than us. They know how to challenge us. They know how to dig into our process. That, hey, maybe we're a 5-year-old company. And we bring this person that was with 20-year-old company or whatever, and they come in and say, hey, I don't like this process, or hey, we can improve this process, or hey, have you thought about this? And we think, it's never been done that way. So we just push it away. It's like, Dad, blast it. You brought him in for a reason. You brought this rock star in for a reason. Freaking listen to them. Freaking give them that opportunity to improve the process. You want to grow or not? Your people who you brought onto the bus can help you get there. It doesn't revolve around us. It revolves around our team. You should pat yourself on the back if somebody comes and gives you a solution and says, hey, can we change this process because it doesn't work? And you should you should go to the mirror, not in a narcissistic way, but pat yourself on the back, because this might help all of us with our egos right here. Go to the mirror, pat yourself on the back and say, I did a good job hiring that person. Yes, you know what? We can do that. Don't make it about you.
Give yourself a pat on the back, though, for if you founded a company, or you've grown a company, or you've owned or led a company, or you led areas of the company. There's a lot of pride that comes with that. Rightfully so.
For sure.
Pride and confidence.
For sure.
So give yourself a pat on the back when you get to a point that you welcome somebody. Like, think about this. If your employee trusts you enough to challenge you, the leader, the owner, on something, wow. Like, you are building a strong culture. Again, that can all go, we know where, if you respond the wrong way to that. So how you handle that, give yourself a pat on the back. If you're allowing your people to come and challenge you respectfully, and obviously, within the lines of the parameters you've established, like, that is a win for culture. That is a win for keeping people around, because that opinion is going to be valued. So again, it's okay to give yourself a pat on the back
Yes.
there and acknowledge one of the best leaders I ever worked with at Chase. He ran the entire aspects of the company at a C level. Spent some time with me one day. I don't know why, just a nice guy. And he said, Andrew, I hear a lot of great things from people that come through your branch. I was training hundreds of people for this new market at the time. Every 2 weeks, I'd have a whole new branch team come into my branch along with my team. And we maintained great customer service scores. We maintained compliance scores, even with that change, that revolving door. He came in and said, I hear a lot of great feedback about you. What is it that makes you a great leader? And it stumped me. Because I didn't ever toot my own horn like that.
Yeah.
He said, here's what you need to do. I hear it all the time, too. I'm around there. He'd be like, so-and-so, we love you. He said, step aside and ask the person, hey, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. But I want to be able to double down on what works. And so would you mind sharing, what did you like about my leadership style? What was it that you thought was impactful? So have you as a leader ever asked someone who gave you kudos, hey, what about that thing that I did actually stood out to you, because I want to be able to learn and continue to do that.
Double down on it. That's powerful.
So there's a very empathetic and humble way to do that.
People stay when, folks.
But that's a good question to ask.
Yeah.
Right? Sometimes we just take the praise and move on, and we're like,
yeah.
Right?
Strokes where you go and move on.
But don't. Be humble.
Strive for excellence.
Do I know what they mean?
Do it better.
Do I know? And when I started doing that,
wow. They're
like, one of the pieces of feedback is you're great at being aware of everything that's going on and making sure it's moving forward without micromanaging. That was the feedback a lot of common denominator people gave. And that helped me identify who I was then as a leader.
Yeah. Especially if you're a young leader listening, I think sometimes figuring out who you are. I mean, we all go through that stage, that growing up stage in leadership, in management, right? And we have to evolve and figure out our identity. I wanted to jump in there and say, do the exercise, our people stay when, and all that. And then here's the other thing is, as you're growing and the rock stars coming in to challenge you on something, and you thank them for that, you might be doing that so well as a leader, and maybe you've grown to the point where now you have some frontline managers who are responsible for people. Yeah. Make sure that you sit down with those frontline managers and make it imperative that you teach the DNA of a good leader and of the heart of leadership. Because here's the thing, you may be thinking, and I've talked to some organizations, I've consulted with them, who the leader at the very top who started this thing was very good at taking criticism, was very good at feedback, was very good, had an open door, all that stuff that you tout, open door policy, open feedback, whatever. Yeah. And then some of those front lines didn't. And so you're losing people based on one bad center, one bad manager, one bad... So, and I don't mean a bad person, because everyone's worthy of respect, but I'm talking about just bad behaviors, no integrity, or whatever the case may be. So make sure you're teaching the heart of leadership, the attitude of leadership down to the front line, where it's not about ego, it's about excellence. So we've talked about that, but your people leave when, Andrew, you made some poignant points, and then our people stay, I should say our people leave when, because it can happen to all of us, and then our people stay when. Let's all go do that whiteboard exercise.
I love it. So let's do it, man. This was a fun one.
This was.
Looking forward to the next one.
Thanks for the Wells wagon ride back there in the past on that stagecoach. I really appreciate that. Blast from the past, man.
All right, my brother. I love you, man. We'll see you soon.
See you guys.
All right.